Okay, so I want to get right into this video because this is a very, very important one. We're going to be specifically going through press releases from the SSA, what's going on internally with the Social Security Administration, what's going on with the new commissioner, Lee Dudek, who's basically been replaced, who has replaced Michelle King by President Trump's appointment. Also, we're going to be going through the options for those things that are going to be terminated for services related to Social Security benefits. And then we're going to be talking about how things are likely to change going into the future. So this is going to be a very detailed video going through a lot of SSA documentation. Now, before we get into it, I was personally a little bit offended by some of the comments that I read with the prior video where I talked about essentially the Social Security system potentially, maybe actually collapsing. And then I outlined the reasons why these things could actually occur. And these things were very straightforward. They were very accurate. They were very important, in my opinion, related to this entire situation. Now, the thing I want you to keep in mind is that when I did that, people said, "How dare you, Attorney Walter Hnot? How dare you make people afraid that their benefits are going to be somehow restricted, removed, so on and so forth. How dare you?" I want to make a point, okay? Out of all the channels on YouTube, I believe, reading internal documents to you, case law, listing level, criteria, going through grid outs, going through policy changes, going through basically, government, political arguments going on. I feel like I feed you guys most facts out of all of these different channels that do disability or Social Security related videos. And I feel like, to be fair, when it comes to the comments, I have to realign the way I look at things because, when I deal with the homeless, right, usually lack of education, the lack of resources, I have a lot of compassion for the homeless. That's why I work with them all the time. And I try to make sure that they have what they need to go ahead and get through this program to win the benefits, etc. But they do a lot of shit that's really just not helpful for themselves or others. I've also noticed that in the comments, which, keep in mind, a lot of homeless are not utilizing YouTube. I've noticed in the comments, okay, and just for those who don't understand, because there will be some, person who needs to remove their forehead from their buttocks in the chat or the comment section. They'll be like, YouTube, homeless people use YouTube all the time. They don't, because just so you fully understand, their phones work on a minute use system or text use system that costs minutes away from their phone, including internet use, etc., unless they're in a free internet place. Yes, they'll use the internet like that at a free internet place. But if they have to go back to the woods, they're not using YouTube in the same way like everybody else has when it goes up to get a signal and they're good to go. I just want to clarify that because I've had some comments where people were really, really mean. I've had to change the way I look at these and start to review what people say in the comment section and look at them as if they were homeless, without education, without an understanding as to what's actually going on. This is what's actually going on. These are the official statements of public figures who have served or are currently serving. These are the specific news releases from the SSA that we will be going over. So I just want to go ahead and say, for the people who are really aggressive and saying, "How dare you use the word collapse?" As I was making that video, a quote came out from the last actual commissioner of the SSA, not one that was acting, actual commissioner, not one that was put back in because one had to hop out to go to the DNC chair. The last actual commissioner of the SSA, who stated at the time that I made the video about the SSA potentially collapsing, quote, "Ultimately, you're going to see the system collapse and an interruption of benefits," Commissioner Martin O'Malley said. Quote, "I believe you will see that within the next 30 to 90 days. End quote. Quote, "People should start saving now." Why fight me on this? All I do is deliver to you what they're saying and then give commentary as somebody who worked, the most viewed, most subscribed to, most clicked on disability attorney in America. Why fight it? I'm just giving you the info and then you figure it out from there as to how you're going to fix your life. All right. So point is this. All right. We're going to be going through basically the changes that are occurring so that you have a full understanding essentially the direction of the Social Security Administration going forward. Now, you have to remember there are two things that are happening here as an overall arching theme. Number one, getting rid of waste, fraud, slimming down the SSA. Number two, right? What will happen as a result of slimming down the SSA? All right, so let's get right into it real quick. Let's not waste time. February 21st, 2025, for immediate release by Mark Hinkle, press officer, right? Okay, from the SSA. Social Security slashes cooperative agreements. The Social Security Administration today announced the termination of their Retirement and Disability Research Consortium, known as the RDRC cooperative agreements. All right, so you guys aren't going to know what this is. Some of you will, but most won't. There are grants for nonprofits or research groups, think tanks, that get funded from the Social Security Administration to go figure out a solution to some problem, or just develop, basically studies and information that can be used by the SSA going forward to figure out how to fix a problem. Some of their AI technology came from this. Some of their fixes, some of their OIG stuff, some of their, future DDS system changes came from this stuff. A big one that many of you guys don't know about would be basically their their DOT SEO changes, which are the Dictionary of Occupational Titles, which is a giant book of jobs that they compared disabled people to see if they could do any job in the national economy, being the jobs that are in that book. They're getting rid of that. Effective immediately, that particular benefit service for Social Security benefits, which is basically the system, the grant system to go ahead and figure out new stuff, innovation for the SSA, effective immediately, it is slashed. It is gone. It is ended. This action supports the president's executive order ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferences. Okay. Now, to be fair, I was given information that particular group was using a lot of nonprofits and funding a lot of nonprofits during Biden's era, okay, President Biden's era, that basically was not really pushing forward the SSA for SSA core values, but rather doing a lot of things and studies for things that are not really going to benefit directly the bottom line recipient, unless that bottom line recipient is potentially a trans individual or potentially somebody who is part of the LGBTQ community, and studying how the SSA can go ahead and have employees that partake more from that particular agenda. Again, not the direction of what Trump wants. However, counter argument here, because remember, I stick in the middle with this stuff. Counter argument, the RDRC, the Disability Research Consortium, the Retirement and Disability Research Consortium, did do a lot for basically individuals and nonprofits and things like that to figure out new innovations. However, again, counter argument, it was not a super secret that Biden's group had been using this to fund nonprofits that were very, very specific to the very, very far left, agenda. And see that comment right there, Lord Bison. This guy never has any great news. What do you expect, man? Like, you want me to explain to you what's going on at the SSA? The other YouTube channels tell you about stimulus checks up the wazoo that are never going to happen. They tell you about future Bernie Sanders bills that ain't never going to happen. Like, what do you want from me? You want the truth, or do you want me to bullshit you with things that are never going to happen? I can do the bullshit videos too. I'll make a lot more money. I will make way more money. You won't have as much faith in me as an attorney and a person, but I would make way more money. I would. You make the choice. I'm okay with making a lot of money making BS videos like the other YouTube channels. I'm okay with that. I'm totally fine with it. Next one. Quote, terminating our RDRC cooperative agreement aligns with President Trump's priorities to end fraudulent and wasteful initiatives and contracts, said Social Security's acting commissioner Lee Dudek. We will continue to root out waste and abuse to earn back America's trust and confidence in our agency. Okay. Social Security has previously entered into RC cooperative agreements with research centers that include a focus on research addressing DEI and Social Security retirement and disability policy. And terminating these cooperative agreements results in about $15 million in cost savings for hardworking Americans in fiscal year 2025. Okay. All right. So bottom line is they're going to go ahead and get rid of their research division at the SSA, where they give grants and fund future initiatives. Okay. That's the bottom line. All right. Next one. Now we're going to February 2024, 2025. February 24th of 2025 news release. Let's get into it. Social Security eliminates wasteful department. So now they're cutting out an entire department First we saw the research division go. Now we're going to be seeing the wasteful department go. The Social Security Administration today announced the closing of a component within the agency, the Office of Transformation. Okay. Employees in this office will be put on administrative leave effective today. Okay. So this is like 7, 8 days ago. President Trump has mandated, this is a quote, the federal government eliminate wasteful and inefficient offices, and the Office of Transformation was a prime example, said Lee Dudek, acting commissioner of the Social Security. This redundant office was created under the previous administration. We are righting that wrong. To learn more about the changes related to it, you go to the website, yada, yada. To be fair, there were things about the future of what the SSA could become, how the benefits could be changed, stuff like that. But again, you understand they have a 36.5 or something $trillion debt at this point, and the deficit, like, we don't make enough to pay. We're just going to keep going more in debt. They got to find millions so they can find billions so that they can find trillions. Next one. Social Security, February 25th, news release. Okay. Social Security dissolves duplicate office. Okay. The Social Security Administration today announced the closing of a component within the agency, the Office of Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity. That's an important one. That's one I did not expect to see going by the wayside. But again, let me read it to you again. The Office of Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity. Employees in this office will be put on administrative leave effective today. Our focus, quote, is supporting President Trump's priorities, which include streamlining functions and prioritizing essential work, said Commissioner Lee Dudek, who's the acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration. Quote, terminating the Office of Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity and reassigning statutory responsibilities performed by this office advances the president's goal to make all government more efficient in serving the American public. So what you're going to be seeing across all these agencies is that instead of having departments for each agency that focus on fixes for that agency, you're going to be seeing one giant department that basically works with all of the agencies to make sure the agencies are consistently doing what they're supposed to, thereby basically reducing the amount of staff you need from this to basically this, so that one massive department compared to an army of departments will exist. Okay. Next, SSA will transfer responsibility for processing equal employment opportunity complaints, reasonable accommodation requests, and other statutory required functions to other SSA components to ensure compliance with existing legal authorities. So what they're going to try and do is, if it's like a constitutional thing, right, that'll probably go to a different division, well, probably outside of the SSA. But if there are other things, right, civil rights options, stuff like that, which may not be, some constitutional stuff will basically go to other divisions within the SSA. Anyway, the point is they're dissolving a duplicate office at this point. Okay. Next one. Social Security announces options. So how will that affect your rights and benefits? There won't be that agency there for your Social Security, basically ease of, trying to prove that there's been a civil rights violation against you, right? So you won't have that group anymore. It will be sent to some other office somewhere in the SSA or outside of the SSA. Next one, Social Security announces options to its workforce. This one's an important one. This was released on February 27th, 2025. Okay. The following message was sent to agency employees today. Okay. So keep in mind, now we're getting into the firing and termination of SSA employees. Okay. So now we're going to talk about what the SSA is offering to them, what's going to happen with them, etc., because they're trying to reduce the amount of staff they have at the SSA, which, remember, I'm going to stay in the middle on this one. But the SSA is already in crisis mode with too few staff. And remember, Commissioner Lee Dudek was put in to fight the waste and the fraud. He's in prep for the next commissioner, which will be an actual commissioner, not an acting commissioner, who will be Frank Bisignano. Frank Bisignano will come in after the fraud and waste is completed to go ahead and integrate all those private computer technologies that are used traditionally for banking systems and hopefully make the SSA more efficient. There are a lot of concerns as a counter argument, good concerns, that these banking systems might be used to undermine Social Security recipients, because none of us trust our current banking systems outside of the government as well, because let's call it like it is. If we trusted our banking systems and how they would take care of Americans, then we wouldn't have massive credit card debts. We wouldn't have massive, loss of savings accounts where we're just basically trying to pay off credit cards all the time. So we don't trust those systems, and they're going to be integrating those into the SSA. So that's the counter argument. It'll make it more efficient. Counter argument, we won't trust them because they're part of a system that basically makes us constantly pay bills and lose money. We get paid, we pay the money to some group, some company, some organization. Okay. Let's read through this. The Social Security Administration will soon implement agency-wide organizational restructuring that will include significant workforce reductions. Through these massive reorganizations, offices that perform functions not mandated by statute may be prioritized for reduction in force actions that could include abolishment of the organizations and positions. Directed reassignments and reductions in staffing. The agency may reassign employees from non-mission critical positions to mission critical direct service positions. In other words, field offices, teleservice centers, processing centers. Reassignments may be involuntary and may require retraining for new workloads. Now, remember, as this is going on, a significant amount of the regional commissioners have already stepped down across the entire board with the SSA. Real quick, I want to do a shout out for the first person who did a donation. And please remember to like and subscribe. Black Sand did a $1.99 donation, said thank you for your service to the community. I super appreciate that. I want to put a little heart on that one. Thank you, good sir. There's also a donation from James Moody, who did a $10 donation with the thank you pair, which I absolutely, it's one of my favorite animations. That one and the Nintendo console one. So thank you for the $10 donation. I really, really super appreciate that. That's absolutely amazing. All right, now, with this situation, okay, we're going to be going through basically how the SSA is handling the removal or reassignment of staff members. Now, remember, they're saying around 5,700 people, 57,000 people work at the SSA. They want to get rid of around 7,000. I don't know if it's really 57,000. I know it goes down and up, but it's been going down a little bit for a while. So it may be a little bit lower, but what they're shooting for is 50,000 employees at the SSA. Jason Richardson, thank you for the $9.99 donation. That's awesome. Very cool. Oh, cool. It almost looks like you're wearing in that picture, like the outfit that's used for Star Wars fighter pilots. So that's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Good sir. Thank you. All right, so number one, there's voluntary reassignment for the SSA employees. Employees interested in voluntarily being reassigned to a mission-critical position should indicate their interest here, reassignment questionnaire by March 14th, 2025. So basically, they fill out a form. We're going to go through that form in the not-too-distant future. Option number two, voluntary separation incentives. Oh, sorry, that's really just an attachment. Employees who do not wish to undergo the restructuring process may elect to separate from federal service, not like go to another agency, like get out of town, like you ain't working with the feds anymore, through retirement or resignation. So you're either part of the club, you're part of the future, you're part of the direction, or you're out of the federal government. There's no like mixing of words here. This is like you're either part of the club and you're going to be a part of the club in the future and you support the direction, or you're out. Okay. To further support employees considering these options, SSA is offering the following to all employees. Number one, voluntary early retirement, VERA, or early out. Okay. And we're going to be going through these options so you understand them a little bit more detail, because I doubt any of you, some SSA employees actually watch this channel. We had obviously a DDS rep on Wednesday call in. On Thursday call in and ask what his future should be, what he should do. So there are SSA personnel. There's literally politicians that watch this channel. So, but again, I'll go into more detail about what VERA is and how it works. All right. Availability. VERA is now available to employees in all components and positions with no exclusions. Please see eligibility criteria below. And to be fair, Trump is basically creating a system that more people than not are likely to want to opt into, because financially it makes sense to get into that. And if there's people who basically are low performance metric people, not completing them as much, not getting as much done, then he's really giving them a good option to get out of Dodge so that he doesn't have to deal with them in the future, because that's what he's doing here. Next one, separation window. VERA is available from March 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. Employees not eligible now or who wish to retire later in the year under early out may do so, but may be subject to restructuring activities. Employees who are not yet eligible for voluntary early retirement, but who would like to apply later in the calendar year, should alert management of their intent to do so and work with their service benefit specialists to process their cases as their dates become due. So, in other words, talking about people who are going to hold on to their employment at the SSA so that they can opt into when they become basically ready and capable of receiving the retirement option early. All eligible employees taking early retirement must separate, this is important, by December 31st, 2025. One more time. All eligible employees taking early retirement must separate by December 31st, 2025. So, in other words, Trump's plan with Commissioner Lee Dudek is to go ahead and get rid of all the people they want gone by the end of this year. No matter what, they want all the people who, support Biden's agenda, have the left leaning, yada, yada, that aren't super excited about the mission of the Social Security Administration. He wants them all gone, no matter what. They have to be gone by December 31st, 2025. All right, eligibility. To be eligible for early out, basically retirement that's early, employees must have 20 years of credible service and be at least 50 years of age, or have at least 25 years of credible service at any age. This must include 5 years of civilian service. So put another way, I'm giving you right now the bullet points on what these federal employees will be allowed to use to retire early. So you know how you get to retire at 62, you get your full retirement at 66 in 10 months or whatever, 67 is going to be, pretty soon, or your maximum retirement and retirement at 70. Well, these individuals are going to be able to retire potentially earlier than that, potentially even in their 40s. So in other words, Trump's giving them a real good option to get out of the federal government that a lot of these people are going to be picking. Okay, I'll read them to you again. Here we go. Have 20 years of credible service and be at least 50 years of age, or have at least 25 years of credible service at any age. This must include 5 years of civilian service. Must be serving under a non-time limited appointment, have been continuously on SSA's rolls at least 30 days prior to January 17th, 2025, and cannot be in receipt of an involuntary separation decision for misconduct or unsatisfactory performance. Note, retirement may affect your federal health insurance eligibility. Please contact your servicing personnel office, SPO, with questions. So just to solidify what's happening, Trump is giving the best retirement deal to these potential employees to leave the Social Security Administration so that he doesn't have to worry about them because they've got this big potential option to get out of the SSA and have their retirement benefits here. April Holmes, thank you for the $5 donation. I super appreciate that. I love the little fox. That's awesome. Very, very cool. Also, Scaredy Cat, haven't seen you in forever. $5 donation. Thank you. Put a little star on that. Said, thank you, Walter. Been following you for 5 years. I don't watch any other SS channel. You're my one and only. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that because I've seen a lot of the other Social Security channels, and some of them are okay. But there's very few of them that are okay. I always get a little weird about trusting people who make extreme, it's either black or white statements about the SSA, because as practicing, there's the rule, and then there's the how we actually apply it and do it to make it make sense kind of thing. I'm also a little wary on trusting government employees that set up a YouTube account after they retire, because to be fair, they're going to be the ones who basically receive direction from friends, family, etc., that are still part of the SSA. So I get a little worried about the trusting with that. But, all in all, there's a lot of people out there who really want to do a good thing. But the problem is a lot of them have no training in the system and they're producing wrong information. But it's okay. Their heart is in the right place with those people. So I leave that alone. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. Voluntary separation incentive payments, VSIP. Availability. VSIP will be available until noon on March 14th to all employees electing to separate from service across all components and positions agency-wide. In other words, if somebody's leaving completely, they're outlining what money, what's available, how they're going to get it, etc. VSIP is limited and available on a first-come basis. VSIP may be paid for an optional retirement, full retirement age, voluntary early retirement, VERA, or resignation. So in other words, they're going to get a payout kind of gig. VSIP is not available to employees who are participating in the deferred resignation program. So they got to take it soon. March 14th, as you know, we're at March 3rd now. We're talking 2 weeks away. And then basically that gig is over for their benefits for that particular program to resign or step away. All right, eligibility for that. Employees must be serving an appointment without time limit. And just so you guys know what that means, it's like not a political thing where they're put in and they only can serve this amount of time. Like they have to be serving an actual job function at the SSA where they're hired to do it. And they could be there 10 years, they could be there 20 years, they could be there 30 years to do that job. Be currently employed by the executive branch of the federal government for a continuous period of at least 3 years. Be serving in a position covered by an agency VSIP plan. All SSA employees are covered in the agency plan. Apply for and receive approval for a VSIP from the agency making the VSIP offer. You got to apply for it and not be included in any of the ineligibility categories listed below. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you those employees at the SSA that are basically, not going to be eligible for this extra VSIP money. All right, employees in the following categories are not eligible for the VSIP money, which is, money to basically get them to, leave kind of gig. Reemployment annuitants have a disability such that the individual is or would be eligible for disability retirement, have received a decision notice of involuntary separation for misconduct or poor performance, have received a decision notice of involuntary separation for misconduct or poor performance, previously received any VSIP from the federal government, which I didn't think, honestly, that they would be. I mean, I would have put a time limit on it. I don't think I would have done a complete cutoff on that. I would have done something a little bit different than that. During the 36-month period preceding the date of separation, performed service for which a student loan repayment benefit was paid or is to be paid. During the 24-month period preceding the date of separation, performed service for which recruitment or relocation incentive was paid or is to be paid. So basically, if you got student loan forgiveness kind of thing, or basically some other benefit from the government that was a good chunk payment, then they're not going to give you this VSIP payment if it was recent. During the 12-month period preceding the date of separation, performed service for which a retention incentive was paid or is to be paid. So in other words, what they're saying is these employees were working to do as much as they can to answer your 800 calls, deal with your in-office appointments, process your benefits. These people are getting good financial options to leave the SSA. And let me explain the problem with this. The really, really financially smart personnel, we're talking accountants, we're talking people with higher education levels, they're going to stack this stuff the best that they can, get out and go private industry. The ones maybe that are in the middle, because, they're going to try and basically, it's one of those things where they're going to try and basically terminate essentially what's going on with those individuals that are kind of on the lesser end. The middle ground, right? The middle ground people, those are the ones that you got to worry about because they have the skills, they have the knowledge, they have the ability. So at the end, we don't really want to lose those, but some of those will be shipping ship away from the SSA. Next one, separation window. Employees must opt in by March 14th and separate from the agency no later than April 19th, 2025. Employees may be placed on administrative leave through April 19th, 2025. How to sign up. Employees must complete the VSIP sign up as soon as possible, but no later than March 14th, noon. Please let your manager know immediately. So what Trump is creating through Commissioner Lee Dudek with Elon Musk through the DOGE is essentially a system of small timelines that they have to, let the SSA know as to when they're leaving. And so as a result of that, to be super duper fair, what's happening is he's saying, look, I'm giving you guys basically a little bit less than a month to figure out if you're going to be leaving. And if you're going to be leaving, you have to go ahead and tell us, and we'll give you all these extra benefits and these retirement options and all this stuff, but you got to leave. You got to go. We're going to give you all this extra money, but you got to go. And that's what he's creating, a gauntlet of potential benefits to get them out the door. Real quick, I just want to say a super thank you to Susie Q for basically the donation, which is absolutely amazing. It is a $5 donation. Let me put a heart on that. Thank you. That's super amazing. Charles Lewis, thank you for the $9.99 donation. I really appreciate that. Charles Lewis said, Walter's day job with SSA stuff, Walter's side hustle SSA when he's off from both. He's thinking about SSA. Yeah, I know, right? I know. Yeah, my life is literally inside the politics, the rules, regulations, Social Security ruling changes, etc. I see people talking about, let's see, Dr. Weir in here. Yeah, so Dr. Weir, I know about his channel. Things pop up on my comment section where people, it looks like bots that are hired to go ahead and talk about him because YouTube is about engagement. If his name pops up on my channel, it increases his channel. But the bottom line is he grew from nothing vastly beyond my channel in a short period of time. I can't do some of the things that channel was doing because I'm restricted by the Florida bar that I know of. I don't know if he actually did those things, but I mean, the growth of his channel was just explosive, massively explosive. With that said, maybe he's a great guy. I don't know him personally. I know a lot of the other people who have channels on this thing personally, but him, I don't know him personally. So to be fair, he was also a manager at the SSA. I'm never going to have full and complete trust in that individual because he comes from the side of the fence that was internal, that was pro SSA. I come from the other side of the fence, which is external, which is pro claimant. So I'm never going to have full and total and complete, essentially trust in that individual. Now, there are exceptions to that, right? Exceptions to maybe some administrative law judges who I know where their intent is to help the claimants and, they're not happy with the way the system is going. But when it comes to managers at the SSA, regional managers, things like that, I can never have full 100% trust in that individual. I've seen some of his videos. I've summarized them, put it on 2x speed and gone through them. He does do extremely long videos for the type of content that he's talking about. Sometimes we make it that long, but very rarely. So I try to get you the information a lot faster. All right. With that said, let's get through this real quick. The final news release, okay? And then we're going to go through notes about things in the future that are likely to change. They're not benefits that are going to be completely terminated because we already went through the types of grant programs that have innovation for the future of your benefits that are terminated. We went through basically entire departments that help with essentially your Social Security benefits being terminated. We're talking about employees at the SSA that will go ahead and be terminated, which obviously is going to affect your benefits. It's going to slow down your ability to communicate with SSA personnel to fix issues, not to mention tech problems. A problem happens. Who's going to fix it? How quickly can they fix it? Interagency communications are going to be slowed down. Final news release, February 28th, 2025. Social Security announces workforce and organization plans. Consistent with the recent executive orders issued by the White House, the Social Security Administration will continue to implement efficiencies and reduce costs with a renewed focus on mission-critical work for the American people. The agency plans to reduce the size of its bloated workforce and organizational structure with a significant focus on function employees who do not directly provide mission-critical services. So they're just focusing on core, critical, what they need to get done to give you your benefits. That's all they're focusing on. And remember, that's a ballsy move because Trump is basically relying heavily on Frank Bisignano to come in and essentially create all this innovation because they're getting rid of all the departments that basically were part of that, like future looking forward, future ideas, future this, where they pay people to create, through grant money to create, future assessment ideas, et cetera, where there was cooperation between the SSA and external groups to create new technologies, new ideas, new futures. They're getting rid of that. It's purely core functions. And this is exactly what private companies normally do when they got to scale back. I mean, private companies are not allowed to go 36 trillion in debt or even close to that. But obviously, this is what happens when a company is basically, this is beyond bankrupt. America is so bankrupt. People are not really sure how, unless we create a highly profitable nation, how America can actually pay off its debt. I know a lot of people are like, we need to fund Ukraine because, he was mean to Zelensky. And I know a lot of you guys haven't been business owners. I know a lot of you guys haven't been employers. I know that. You got to understand, Trump is not a hyper-aggressive leader when it comes to negotiations. He's very transparent, but he's not hyper-aggressive. He's like a middle aggressiveness. You want to see hyper-aggressive? Go look at Apple Computer's Steve Jobs. He would literally scare other CEOs to the point where they didn't know what to do going forward. Okay, or the absolute, the super aggressive business, CEOs like the Clintons. The Clintons were the ultimate in hyper aggressive. They were quiet, great speeches, and then you see what happened to their friends. So you gotta keep in mind, right? What can we afford? And if we're not paying for these 7,000 employees at the SSA, it does come to question whether or not we're going to pay Ukraine going forward to do even more stuff. Because remember, 7,000 employees, should we be at the SSA? And remember, I have to stay in the middle with this. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Are we going to be getting rid of 7,000 employees at the SSA? Apparently so. But again, I'm going to stay in the middle on this thing as opposed to explaining what the union, we'll go into it a little bit. All right. Bottom line is this: Social Security recently set a staffing target of 50,000, down from the current level of approximately 57,000 employees. The rumor being published of a 50% reduction are in fact false. I actually read some articles on that, and I was like, there's no way they can reduce it by 50%. They can't even process all the claims they have now. They have a backlog over 1 million, And just to understand, a backlog of claimants are claimants that are sitting to wait to be found disabled. We used to have 10,000 people die a year waiting for Social Security benefits to be granted. Now we have 30,000. Okay. And that was Biden era. And we all thought Biden, well, I thought, and I know people make fun of me for that, but I really thought Biden was going to do a lot more Social Security. He gave us Commissioner Kijikazi. He gave us Commissioner Martin O'Malley, which was good. That was very good. They were good commissioners. But still, the guy, I mean, if you go look up the history of the bills presented by President Biden while he was in, they were not supportive to the SSA because the second round in, all of those committees, it just got kicked to the curb. I expected more. All right. Initial steps to reduce the workforce included offering a limited number of employees the opportunity to leave the agency under the Deferred Resignation Program and voluntary early retirement, VERA. In other words, the sooner you leave, the more money you could potentially get. Yesterday, the agency announced to all employees that Social Security would soon implement agency-wide organizational restructuring that will include significant workforce reductions. The announcement includes offering voluntary separation incentive payments, VSIPs, to all employees on a first-come, first-served basis, and expanding VERA to all employees. Both VERA and VSIP require employees to opt in and separate from the agency by specific dates. Social Security anticipates that much of the staff reductions needed to reach the target of 50,000 will come from retirement, VSIP, and resignations. Additional instructions will come from reduction in force, RAF actions, that could include abolishment of organizations and positions going forward. RIF can also include directed reassignments from one position to another, yada, yada, yada. All right, so here's what's going on. This week upcoming for the Social Security Administration is expected to be incredibly feisty. It is expected to be a lot of changes. So my point to you is you'll probably see some more videos about specific parts of the agency that are closing down, more specific benefit options, specific benefit details that you would normally, services that you would normally receive that are no longer going to be available. Okay. Let's talk specifically about ones that are either going to be reduced going forward, and then some of them that will likely be ended going forward. This portion is more my opinion as to what's going to happen. I'm going to give you a timeline, explain to you where things are likely going into the future. Okay, let's go into it real quick. The following Social Security services are likely to become strained or have a difficult time keeping up with traditional levels of completion. Based on my opinion and understanding that Trump's current acting commissioner is a fraud expert, and his next commissioner, who will be coming in probably in about a month, is a payment system and private industry efficiency expert, you should expect these things to happen and then for things with the SSA to potentially improve. In other words, things speed up, things be completed more timely, etc., after about 9 to 12 months. However, and I agree with past Commissioner Martin O'Malley that it is going to be a shit show at the SSA over the next 30 to 90 days in which some benefits may not get paid on time. I think they'll always be paid. Well, I take that back. I think that what will happen is that some benefits that are supposed to be paid will have an improper error occur to them. They could fall through the cracks. The computer system could create a red flag that shouldn't be there, whatever. There'll be an error. And then as a result of a limited staff or reduced staff, they won't have enough personnel to go ahead and fix the error or even find it until the person's constantly showing up at the local field office demanding change. There's another thing. No one is talking about this other thing, which I think is also very important to consider with this. I don't know if they're going to hit their mark of 57,000 people down to 50,000 people, but the benefits that they're offering to these individuals, to be very, very straightforward and fair, may actually cause a landslide of employees leaving the Social Security Administration. If we see a loss, if we see 10,000 leaving, okay? If we see 15,000 leaving, 20,000 leaving, you will see benefit interruptions, right? When we get to that like 20,000 people gone, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much you support Biden. I don't care how much more you support Trump. I don't care how much you support Harris. I don't care how much you support Vance. If you see 20,000 people at the SSA leaving, I guarantee you will see an interruption in benefits. And I can guarantee that because there are already interruptions in benefits going on because of technical computer errors. So it's going to happen just at a higher rate. Now, let's go through this real quick, okay? You can expect, and remember, I do these videos not because I'm excited about like the shit show that we're about to have. I do this because the viewers that actually understand what the situation is at the SSA understand that they would rather know and then fix something in their life. Okay, so apply for specialty programs that give them more. Start searching for specialty programs that pay their rent, etc. Okay, call the counties, call the religious institutions in your area for places to support you in case something arises. Go learn what's in your local area that can help you with food, clothing, etc. Utilities, rent, mortgage, whatever. Go find them. Now is the time because for the next 30 to 90 days, this program's going to be rough. All right, so let's go through this real quick. There's going to be a lot of high turnover, which is going to create internal stress, which is going to create people fearing whether or not they're going to get to keep their job even after they hack 7,000 people away. This is not a good morale situation, which means productivity is going to go down because people are going to be sort of like trying, but at the same time, they're going to be looking for another job. Number two, all right, and just remember, when they're looking for another job, the benefit, right? The services to your benefits that are supposed to be on time, consistent, they're good with doing things efficiently and being kind to you. That's all going to get reduced. That's all going to have issues, okay? Next one, and Melissa Yarborough, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you, thank you. Next one, delays in processing all forms of benefits are likely to occur, with disability benefits taking even longer than they currently do. They will usually, for most people, take from 12 to 19 months to adjudicate from the Biden era. And that's not including those who have expedited benefits, they're terminal, they're 100% P&T veteran, they're homeless, etc., yada, they're homicidal, suicide, all that stuff, okay? Now, you can see a 12 to 19 months when it used to take 3 to 6 months, that we're already in a bad spot. But expect them potentially to grow from 14 months to 24 months for an initial adjudication. So when you initially file, it could take 2 years at the initial filing level. Okay, it could, unless things get sped up, unless things go in the right direction. There are expedited services, of course. However, many of those will become more strained, and also some categories that are supposed to speed up the process may become ineffective. So what do I mean by that? There are inside the SSA, basically, expedited options to speed up your claim. If you're terminally ill, that one tends to speed it up the absolute most. Compassion allowance listings, that's up there. Homeless, that's not up there. That's on the low end, right? I have found that if you designate as homeless with expedited allowance, only sometimes now will it speed it up only a little bit. However, terminal illness, top of the pile every single time, every single place that the claim goes, okay? Next thing, as a result of what's going on, it used to be, hidden, and now it's a published fact that 10,000 people die each year back in the day. Now it's 30,000 people under the Biden era die each year waiting for the Social Security benefits to be put in place. You can expect the amount of people likely passing away, waiting for their Social Security benefits to grow to potentially 35,000, 40,000, 50,000 people. So literally an armed military force amount of people die waiting for their benefits to be essentially approved at this point. You should expect that to increase over the next 6 months. Another thing, one thing you need to understand is that all longer wait times are compounded by longer appeal times. A lot of people aren't talking about this. Attorneys know it. other people, they'll catch on. So let's say the claim originally took 14 months at the initial filing level. And under the new limited staff situation, now it takes, let's say, 18 months. So under Biden, it was 14 months. Now it's 18 months. Similarly, when a person reaches an appeal at the reconsideration phase, it will likely also take 18 months. So imagine you file 18 months, you get a denial, you appeal, you go to reconsideration, you get another 18 months. They compound on top of each other. So the process of approving benefits will be more and more spread out because each appeal adds even more time, thereby compounding the wait time and creating an issue. This is something people aren't talking about, but it is very important that you understand it. Next thing, expect phone call systems to go from 15 minutes to an hour and a half, wait times to 45 minutes to 2 hour wait times. They may create phone system limitations where people are required to try and solve their issue first with an AI bot that can access the internals of their file. They may also restrict callers to one attempted call per day. They may also restrict the amount of time an SSA employee can be on the phone to discuss your issue, perhaps 10 minutes, perhaps 7 minutes that you get to communicate with that person for that day. Next thing, you should expect more errors in benefit computation, overpayments, underpayments, and improper rulings that will need a quality review assessment. They will have limited staff, so expect letters without specificity on the payment or benefit problem to be a common thing for a while. And remember, Gail Ennis was under some fire, which was the past inspector general, the last one we had at the SSA. She was under fire and then ultimately stepped down as a result of that kind of pressure from Biden and some of the senators, because a lot of the overpayment letters they were sending out did not have enough specificity for the claimant to establish a defense against it. You know, that's how I'm always talking about getting an accounting letter from the SSA, what your months were, what happened, why they're taking the benefits away, how much they reduced them by month. They weren't sending those out. So a lot of people were just like, I don't know, I got this. Why is I don't understand this overpayment. And it's because they didn't have any information in the document. Now, there's another side to that. A lot of people that did get information, they didn't understand what the information actually meant, but that's a different thing. Let's see. Mark Vietti, thank you for the $20 donation. Let me put a little heart right there. Question is, does the SSI monitor, so the SSA monitor what you purchase by looking at your bank statement? Yes, they can obtain a warrant if it's a situation where a CDI unit is pretty much getting involved. Do they go ahead and have direct access to your bank account for SSI purposes? Yes. So with SSI benefits, you opt into their ability to see what's going on with your banking information, because they have to check when you go over $2,000, because that is the limit, the resource limit that you're allowed to have. So absolutely, if you're going over, they do have monitoring systems that can access bank account information related to your benefits to see if you're going over. So yes, it's just like the DMV stuff. They can click, and then within seconds, the DMV with your name and any potential cars that would pop up, boom, it's right there. And the reason why is another SSI limitation. Well, it's actually the same one, which is the $2,000 limitation. You're allowed to have one car, but if you have more than one car, you got to add up the cars and see if they're more than basically, well, technically you look at the one that's worth the most, I'll explain the rule in a different video. You have to see if the worth, right, the vehicle is over $2,000, which, because of essentially what happened with the economy, you know, essentially with used cars and cars in general over the past 4 years, most cars are now over the SSI resource limit. And President Biden, great opportunity, raise the SSI $2,000 resource limit to $10,000. Every Democratic politician, every Democrat was cool with that. Every single one. Why didn't you? You had the opportunity, make it happen. All right, next one. All right, so expect extremely slow responses to your inquiries. So if you want to write out an SSA 795, you want to send in a FOIA request, expect extremely slow responses from the SSA if you get one at all. The SSA is famous for not responding to FOIAs. It's bad, okay? Also, expect claims to fall between the cracks and not pop up unless you reach out to regional office for review. Next thing, as we have gone over, certain outreach, DEI, and vulnerable assistance programs are facing termination or are currently being reviewed for their potential termination. So expect the SSA to return back to its core functions to make those more efficient before adding anything else back on. But also don't expect, as a counter argument, that things will really realistically be added on, because the whole point of Trump's thing is to make the government a lot cheaper to run to have extra money from what we all pay in taxes, well, for what the working class pays in taxes, to pay down the debt. Remember, we won't survive as a country with this much debt if the other countries get smart about basically ganging up on the US to remove the US reserve dollar. Because if all these other countries start feeling like they can stand up against the United States, including Europe, then the United States does not have the military power to go against all of Europe and Russia and China and things like that. And they will start creating their own reserve currency, which will, of course, crash the US dollar. Next thing, expect that the SSA and other agencies will have a more difficult time intercommunicating with sending shared documents. The reason why is that there will be fewer staff members to fix computer and tech problems in general. This will directly reflect essentially how much benefit you can get from your benefits, what services are available from your benefits. As a result, when a system goes down, this could affect the SSA and other agencies that pull info from the SSA. So if the SSA has a banking pull system that goes down, or the IRS has a system where the SSA pulls, IRS tax information or earnings records or certified earnings queries with your quarters of coverage, if those go down, it could take them longer because they don't have as many staff members. Mary Ann Zaid, thank you for the $10 donation. I super appreciate it. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you. And again, guys, I really appreciate these donations. A lot of them are going to be going to, just so you know, Shadow's future surgery for his total hip replacement, which is expensive. So just keep in mind, that's my focus over basically the next month, is to pull the funds together to basically get him ready to go, because he's not even walking on that back right leg. So let's keep rocking and rolling here so we can keep going here. All right, so here's the deal. As a result, when a system goes down, this could affect the SSA, other agencies that pull the info from the SSA, vice versa. If the SSA needs something from the IRS, then it could take longer for them to process the request, which obviously slows down your ability to get your benefits, and then kind of makes the services of your benefits be reduced, right? So in the very beginning of the video, we talked about services that were being terminated. Now we're on services that are likely to be reduced and or terminated, or potentially built on once things get, kind of concrete base stabilized. Next thing, expect delays with processing and pushing new Social Security rulings, new case law rulings, along with just policy changes in general. The reason why is that the staff needed to implement a new system will be reduced. So that from, figuring out what happened, what the case law was. Okay, so this person sued the SSA, this person was successful, now they have to create new policy. New policy is released in the internal documents. We cover them on a video, and then basically they start to roll out how their local field offices, regional offices are going to be doing this stuff. That whole process is going to take longer because, to be very fair and straightforward, the amount of people needed to change the direction of the very large ship known as the Social Security Administration are being reduced. So they've got fewer sailors on the gigantic Titanic-sized, well, bigger than that, ship known as the SSA. Lisa Boston, thank you for the $4.99 donation. Also a member, which is awesome. Very, very cool. Love the little dancing pair. Very cool. Very, very cool. So here's the deal, okay? There also may be more pay-to-play options added to help fund the SSA. I don't know if any of these will happen. It's just something that, somebody brought up that was part of a political enterprise that I was talking to, and they're like, well, why couldn't we do this? Why couldn't we do that? And, for me, I'm nice with a lot of these people, but when they said it, I was like, because it's stupid. Don't do it. It's not okay. It's a very bad idea. I didn't do that. I walked through the idea with the person, but let's go through some of these basic things. That way, you know what they are. So pay to play in order to fund the SSA. So in order to get access to certain benefit information, you already pay to play on some stuff. You want your work history details, the SSA will charge you for some of that, right? So now I'm going to explain to you other pay to play things that the SSA may be doing with you in the future, okay? Charging people a monthly or yearly fee to access additional information on their My Social Security online bio page. You'll have your basic info, but if you want more information, you're going to have to go ahead and pay, okay? Paying for extended review time from an SSA staff member in order for a more difficult situation to be fixed. So let's say the SSA renders and said, okay, an online 800 number person can only spend 10 minutes per person. If you want to get a total of 60 minutes, you can prepay the SSA to get more time to have that person fix the problem, okay? Again, these are optional. These are not things that they're actually doing right now. These are just things that I want you to be aware of going forward so you understand it, okay? These are things that potentially could come forward, okay? Next thing, charging claimants who wish to appeal a claim into the ALJ hearing stage. So at different court levels, usually you have to pay a court fee. There's no court fee with the SSA. There are court fees with the district court. There are court fees with the circuit court. There are court fees with the Supreme Court, but there are no court fees with the administrative law judge hearing level or the appeals council level. Okay. They could potentially start charging those unless you can prove that basically you're homeless or impoverished, etc. Although obviously if you're disabled, then you're going to be in that, that situation. But some people are disabled and they got a lot of money in the bank, so they might start charging them. October Gypsy, thank you for the $9.99 donation. 9.99 donation with the little lemon. That's awesome. Little lemon animation is adorable. It's like a super happy. That's awesome. All right, so let's go through the next one. Now, they've actually already started doing this one. We're going to be doing a video specifically on it for a person who's almost arrested. They were going to call the police on him because he didn't have a credit card to pay to stay at the SSA parking lot outside of the field office. Yeah. I know it sounds like otherworldly. When I heard the story, I actually have scans. I actually have scans of his tickets from that parking facility. I'm going to have him come on and do a video to explain what happened. But when I heard it, I was horrified because remember, each one of these field offices are supposed to be houses of the people, right? They're supposed to be there so that we can access our benefits. All right. So anyways, a lot of field offices don't charge you to park, but some of them now do charge claimants to park at the Social Security Administration's parking lot. It's insanity. I can't believe it, but they are doing it. It's just, I'm blown away. All right. Next one, charging claimants who wish to have a secondary medical expert CE review. I think if people get a CE review and they say it's improper or this shouldn't have happened or blah, 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 the SSA might send out a letter in the future saying, okay, well, you can have another one. Oh, but it's going to cost you this much. You're going to have to pay for it yourself, $150, $350, whatever, etc. That could be an option as well. Black Sand did a $4.99 donation. Let me put a little heart on there. I said tax AI robotic labor is being done and not tax SSA FICA healthcare. So what basically Black Sand is talking about is the thing that is going to collapse the SSA going forward. The number one problem for the Social Security Administration is fertility. Basically, people and I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody in particular. People are not having enough babies and are about to turn 39 years old and essentially not have any babies. I do have 2 dogs though, and they are adorable. They are my little chubby chubs. They are my doggies. They're my kids. But we're not making human babies. We're not making enough human babies. So the problem is we're not making enough future workers who pay taxes to pay for basically disabled and retired people. Huge issue. Fertility rate is like number one problem. But what Black Sand is saying is that the thing that's actually going to collapse the Social Security Administration, that will actually end benefits for sure, that will reduce them to the point where they're not worth what they're supposed to be worth and in any respect, not a 25% reduction that's coming in 8 or 9 years. We're talking like a full on 50, 75% reduction, is that basically most jobs of the next 10 years are going to be replaced with AI functions now that AI has the ability to self-code. Once it has the ability to do more self-coding and have its foundation down, they will be able to go ahead and have AI create coding to fix issues that will, putting it very straightforward, very simply, replace not only the people who used to code, but the people who used to do the job of the administrative program that, can kind of think for itself and create future stuff. Now, you may be saying, well, AI is coming. It is what it is. There's not going to be as many people employed, whatever. The problem is it's the exact same issue as not having enough babies. If we don't have enough babies, we don't have enough workers. If we have a lot of AI, we don't need as many workers. And that will ultimately collapse the SSA system. This is why many of you guys ask me, well, hey, Attorney Hnot, what are you doing for your future? Relying on the SSA? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not relying on the SSA for future benefits. Okay. It's just, they'll be very minute. They're just not going to be realistic. And here's the thing that you have to understand. All of this as a problem is it's like a black hole that we can't escape. We can't escape that Americans aren't making enough babies because we can't get enough immigrants into this country to do tax paying jobs to fix the problem. And we can't escape that AI is going to replace a lot of the blue collar jobs and the white collar jobs and the, purple shirt job, or sorry, the orange shirt jobs. We can't replace that. We can't fix that because there's just not a future for human beings to be doing, administrative jobs, working machine jobs. Like if you have an excavator out there and you have AI in it, you say, hey, AI, I want you to dig a hole here, 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 and here. Watch out for electrical lines. Watch out for water lines. It'll do that. The actual excavator will do that, and it will work through the night without issue. I mean, not to mention like the transportation, right? Vehicles driving people, trucks with tons of cargo, just taking stuff places without truck drivers. And that's a huge change that's coming up. All right, I want to get off that though and get to this real quick. All right. So charging claimants who have filed something incorrectly in the future. Basically, the SSA might do a pay-to-play thing where if you file something incorrectly, you get hit with a fee, so that a rectified filing where you fix it will be recognized. Otherwise, if you don't pay the fee, they might not recognize the fix to it. You might have to refile or retry or re whatever and lose the benefit of potential back pay, etc. Okay. Ultimately, I'm not sure whether OIG will see reductions as they have special funding through Congress. Remember, 2015, they got a lot of funding because around 2013, 2014, they started to actually go ahead and sue, it was like 100 something people who basically were firefighters and policemen that were part of the whole 9/11 scam, where basically, a lot of people who were part of 9/11 claimed PTSD, but then they're posting images of them riding horses and Harleys and jet skis online. And of course, people are like, hey, wait a minute. You must not be really that disabled, right? So that whole situation. So I think realistically, the fraud department will continue to be strong. They'll still have their CDI units. The OIG will still have funding. They'll keep pushing, etc. And they will essentially be finding more and more people who are, and I hate to say it, I think OIG through the CDI units and creating ROI reports, which are like the secret police that go out and watch you. I think they're going to be doing a lot more of that in the future. And the reason why is they're trying to basically reduce the amount of people on disability benefits and force them back to work. However, and that's a very Trumpy sort of oriented thing, that direction. However, the person who also did that was President Biden, because President Biden had an economy, and granted there was COVID, and granted there were asshole CEOs, but he was not the great president for the economy, right? Which caused disability benefits, retirement benefits, spousal benefits, widows benefits, disabled child benefits, etc., 301 benefits, he caused all of those to be inadequate. You didn't have money at the middle of the month anymore. You used to have enough money to make it to the end of the month. Now you don't have money in the middle of the month. So the point is, like, the only people that are on benefits that are like surviving okay are veterans getting their full 100% PNT plus their SSDI payment. Those are the only ones that are doing okay. Everybody else is struggling for the most part. And that was, I don't know if you guys have been to like the grocery store, it's still getting bad. I saw a bunch of packages today that the family size, the giant size that they're supposed to be, is now the same size as what the regular size used to be. And it's even more expensive. Or things that were in 4-packs are now 3-packs. The diameter of the thing that they're giving you is now this big. It's one of those things where it's just not a good situation. Now, ending this video with the final important thought. This is what you have to keep in mind with all of this information. Number one, the country is in massive, massive debt. I don't know if they're going to be able to do anything to actually reduce it to the point where it would make sense, but it will take generations to pay off this debt if we slim down the government. Will the SSA have a rocky road over the next, let's say, 6 to 9 months? The SSA is going to be losing efficiency because it won't have enough people to find things, fix things, etc. Will it ultimately recover? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. The main issue the SSA faces is that they use what's called the GS pay schedule from basically OPM. And the OPM is personal management for the government, right? The GS pay schedule is far too low, and the private industry can pay people better. So the GS schedule is not going to get top of the line talent. And as a result of that, just to be fair with this whole situation, is essentially, you're not going to get people who are really going to want to work for the SSA. They have had a problem due to attrition, training employees, losing employees, with keeping employees. So I don't know what's going to happen. They want to cut 7,000 jobs. To me, that's insanity. for the SSA. That doesn't make any sense at all. The SSA is like the one agency that is so underfunded and so understaffed that it does not make any sense. But at the same time, counter argument, because I want to keep it in the middle. At the same time, we can't afford things as a country. 36 trillion in debt. We don't have it. Massive deficit every single year. So the final thought that I'd like you to remember is that the SSA over the next 3 to 9 months is going to be a very rocky road. I do not know how Frank Bisignano is going to fix this. I do not know, let me repeat it again, how he's going to fix this, because he might fix some things here and there, but this is a cluster bleep that he has never seen before. I guarantee it. And that is the future commissioner that Trump wants to be put in. Granted, he's a super CEO. Granted, he's overseen a lot of technology that the SSA could definitely use. Granted, there's a lot of new AI stuff that the SSA can use to go ahead and make the program more efficient. Absolutely. But to get that stuff going within the next 9 to 12 months and have it working, I mean, that is a job of jobs right there. That is not a job I want. That is definitely not a job I want, because to understand artificial intelligence and massive computer programming and making it all come together and have the SSA work properly on a reduced staff, good luck. Good luck. Okay. That just to me is like, why would you? First, you put the new technology in while keeping as many employees as you have. And then if you're going to try and hack the SSA up, then you hack the SSA up. Now, look, I get it. Getting rid of the DEI programs, getting rid of this, getting rid of that. I get that. That's Trump's, he was put in for that purpose. I get it. But some of these other things were like research divisions for the future of the SSA that are going to directly affect the benefit, options that you have, the direct support that you have with your benefits. So it is what it is. All right. Anyways, I will catch you all a little bit later, but please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe. Hit that like button. Don't be afraid to hit it. Also, head over to Google and type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Most viewed, subscribed, and clicked on Disability Attorney in America. I always love when stars are put up there, but you get to decide how many stars. But I always love, it gets me excited in the morning to see those. With that said, also very important, please remember to go live on Mondays and Thursdays. And if you need a full hour, there's a little contract below where you can go ahead and buy basically my lunch hour. And I'll go through the issue you have, give you a timeline, tell you what types of evidence you need, how to fix it. All right. I'll catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I've got an 8:30 a.m. hearing. So probably later at night, we will catch up from there. Have a wonderful night and we'll go from there. Attorney Walter Hnot, and sleep well, everybody. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.